Hello, I'm Rashi Goyal and I'm pursuing BLLB from University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun. And currently, I am a legal intern at Lexis & Company. So, in today's video, I'll be talking about offer and acceptance under the Indian Contract Act 1872. So, in this video, I'll be covering the definition of offer and acceptance, essential ingredients of valid offer and acceptance, ways in which an offer can be communicated, and difference between the offer and invitation of the offer. So let's start with the offer. According to Section 2, Clause A of the Indian Contract Act 1872, when a person expresses his willingness to another person to do or to abstain from doing something and also obtain the consent of such expression, it is called offer. The person who makes an offer is called offerer or promiser, and the person whom the offer is made is called offeree or promisee. Let's take one example. Mr. A says to Mr. B, "Will you purchase my car for rupees 1 lakh?" In this case, Mr. A is making an offer to Mr. B. Here A is an offerer and B is an offeree. So next is, what are the essentials of a valid offer? There are mainly three essential elements of a valid offer. First is, the offer must be communicated. Communication or expression of willingness by offerer to enter into a contract or abstain from doing so is essential element for a valid offer. Mere desire or willingness to do or not to do something is not enough and will not constitute for an offer. For example, there is a case Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt 1930. It was held that mere knowledge of an offer does not imply acceptance by the offeree. Second essential is, term of the offer must be clear and definite. Knowledge of the intention of the parties is very essential, as without this, court will not able to decide what the parties want to do. Therefore, the terms of the offer must be clear and definite and not vague and loose. For example, Ram offers Shyam to sell fruit worth rupees 600. There is not a valid offer since what kind of fruits or their specific quantities are not mentioned. And third essential is, must create a legal relationship. Offer must be made with an intention of creating a legal relationship, otherwise it will be only an invitation. A social invitation may not create a social relationship. An offer must lead to a contract that creates legal obligations and legal consequences in the case of non-performance of the contract. For example, a lunch invitation extended by A to B is not a valid offer. Now next let's talk about ways in which offer can be communicated. So an offer can be communicated in two ways, by word or by conduct. So by word could be oral or written. The written offer can be made by telegram, letters, email, advertisements, etc. The oral offer can be made either in person or over the telephone. And second is by conduct. The offer may be communicated by making a positive act or sign to offeree. However, the silence of a party does not amount to an offer. For example, when you board a taxi, you are accepting to pay the taxi fare via your conduct. Now, let's discuss the difference between offer and an invitation to offer. As I told you, an offer is defined in Section 2, Clause A of the Indian Contract Act 1872, but an invitation to offer is not defined in Indian Contract Act 1872. The major difference between the two is that the purpose of an offer is to enter into a contract, whereas purpose of an invitation to offer is to receive an offer in order to enter into a contract. Let's understand it with an example. Suppose X sees a product which is marked rupees 50 in Y's shop. He tells Y that he will buy it and offer him rupees 50, to which Y says that he doesn't wish to sell the product. In this case, there is no contract at all, and the price tag is not an offer but an invitation to offer. It is on the discretion of the shopkeeper if he wants to sell his product or not. Therefore, an offer is the final willingness of the property to create legal relations. An invitation to offer is not a final willingness but the interest of the party to invite the public to offer him. Now, let's move to acceptance and its essentials. The Indian Contract Act 1872 defines acceptance in Section 2, Clause B as when the person to whom proposal has been made signifies his assent thereto, the offer is said to be accepted. Thus, the proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. Therefore, once an offer is accepted, it cannot be revoked, because it becomes promise which creates a legal obligation between the parties. For example, Anita offered to buy Priya's car for rupees 10 lakh and Priya accepts such offer. Now this becomes a promise. Section 7 of Indian Contract Act 1872 lays down two essentials of valid acceptance. First is must be unconditional and absolute. Conditional acceptance will not be valid acceptance as it would amount to a counter offer, which would nullify the original offer. Let's understand it with an example. Suppose Anita offers to sell her bag to Priya for rupees 3000. Priya says she accepts Anita's offer if she sells her bag for rupees 1500. This does not amount to the offer of being accepted, but it will amounts to counter offer. And second essential is must be expressed in some usual and reasonable manner. If offerer does not describe any prescribed manner, then it must be expressed in the normal and reasonable manner, that is, as it would be in the normal course of business. Let's discuss few case laws. In L. Estrange versus Gerukov 1934, a buyer signed an agreement for the purchase of cigarette vending machine without reading its terms and conditions. One of the terms excluded liability for all kinds of defects in the machine. The machine supplied was defected, but the court held that supplier was not liable. And in Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt 1913, the plaintiff was a defendant in service as a munim. The defendant's nephew absconded and the plaintiff went to find the missing boy. In the plaintiff's absence, the defendant issued a handbill offering a reward of rupees 501 to anyone who find the boy. The plaintiff traced him and claimed the reward. The plaintiff did not know of the handbills when he found the boy. The court held that the plaintiff was not entitled to a reward. So it can be concluded that the communication on offer is completed when it comes to the knowledge of the person to whom the offer is made, and the communication of acceptance is complete when the acceptance is put in a course of transmission to the offerer. Therefore, offer and acceptance is the essential element of a contract, and in either case it should be done out of one's free will and with intention to enter into a legally binding agreement. Thank you everyone for watching my video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to let me know your feedback in the comment section. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy.